The convent of St. Cecilia stood on a gentle hill overlooking the small town of Pine Grove. Its stone walls had weathered over 100 years of storms, sunshine, and changing seasons. Among the 23 nuns who called this place home, Sister Agatha was perhaps the most overlooked. At 78 years old, she moved slowly through the hallways, her steps careful and measured, her gray hair tucked neatly beneath her habit. Sister Agatha had lived at St. Cecilia's for 57 years. She was known for 3 things: her skill at mending torn clothing, her dedication to tending the herb garden, and her perfect attendance at morning prayers. Not once in nearly 6 decades had she missed greeting the sunrise with her sisters and her God. The younger nuns respected her quiet devotion, though few sought her company during free hours. Sister Agatha seemed content with silence, her small hands always busy with some task or prayer beads. What nobody knew was how Sister Agatha spent those rare moments when she was truly alone. It happened on a rainy Tuesday, in April, when everything began to change. The convent's old upright piano, a battered instrument that had been donated in the 1970s, was being wheeled out of the recreation room by 2 young men from the local high school. The music teacher there had written to Mother Superior, asking if the convent might donate their rarely used piano to replace the school's broken one. "It's for the children," Mother Superior had announced at breakfast. "And honestly, none of us play it anymore. Sister Rose tried for a while, but she gave it up years ago." The nuns nodded in agreement as they ate their oatmeal. Nobody noticed how Sister Agatha's spoon paused halfway to her mouth, or how her faded blue eyes followed the conversation with unusual intensity. As the piano was carefully maneuvered through the narrow doorway, several nuns gathered to watch. They chatted with the young men, asking about the school and the music program. Sister Agatha stood at the back of the group, her hands hidden in the folds of her habit to hide their slight trembling. "Goodbye, old friend," Sister Rose called cheerfully as the piano disappeared into the moving truck. "May you make beautiful music in your new home." Only Sister Agatha remained in the doorway long after the truck had driven away, staring at the empty space where the piano had stood for so many years. Her lips moved slightly, but whatever words she spoke were meant for no earthly ears. 3 days later, a delivery truck appeared at the convent gates. The driver, a woman with friendly eyes and a clipboard, asked for Mother Superior. "We have a delivery," she explained. "A grand piano. The paperwork says it's a donation." Mother Superior blinked in surprise. "There must be some mistake. We just gave away our piano. We certainly didn't order a new one." The driver checked her papers again. "No mistake, sister. It says right here, donation to the convent of St. Cecilia, anonymous benefactor. And it's been paid for, including delivery and installation." Word spread quickly through the convent. By the time the crate was being carefully unpacked in the recreation room, almost every nun had found a reason to pass by and peek inside. The instrument that emerged was nothing like the worn-out upright they had given away. This was a gleaming black grand piano, its surface reflecting the light from the windows like still water. "It's beautiful," whispered Sister Teresa, the youngest nun at just 26. "But who would send us something so expensive?" Mother Superior shook her head. "The Lord works in mysterious ways. Perhaps someone felt moved by the Spirit to support our humble work." Sister Agatha stood in the back of the room, watching as the delivery people carefully positioned the piano in the corner where the old one had stood. Her face revealed nothing, but her right hand, hidden in her pocket, moved slightly as if pressing invisible keys. That evening after dinner, the nuns gathered around the new piano. Sister Rose, who had taken lessons as a child, played a simple hymn with many mistakes. Several others tried as well, producing halting melodies or clumsy chords. They laughed at their own lack of skill, enjoying the novelty of the beautiful instrument. Sister Agatha sat in a chair near the door, watching. When Sister Teresa called to her, "Would you like to try, Sister Agatha?" she simply shook her head. "These old hands aren't good for much beyond darning socks these days," she said, holding up her fingers to show how they curved with arthritis. The nuns nodded in understanding. At her age, with hands so gnarled and stiff it would be painful to press the piano keys. They soon lost interest in the instrument and drifted away to evening prayers, leaving the recreation room empty. That night, as the convent slept under a blanket of stars, Sister Agatha lay awake in her narrow bed. The clock in the hallway chimed 2 in the morning when she finally rose, slipped her feet into worn slippers, and put on her robe over her nightgown. Moving with the quiet precision of someone used to not being noticed, she made her way through the dark hallways. The recreation room was bathed in moonlight when she entered. The piano stood in shadows, its polished surface catching slivers of light. Sister Agatha approached it slowly as one might approach an altar. For a long moment she simply stood before it, not touching, barely breathing. Then, with care, she lifted the fallboard that covered the keys. The white and black pattern was revealed, like a road map to somewhere she had once known by heart. Sister Agatha lowered herself onto the bench, adjusted her position, and then simply sat with her hands in her lap. Her fingers, twisted by time and work, looked wrong to her. They weren't the fingers that had once flown over piano keys with such confidence. These were old woman's hands, hands that had washed countless dishes, tended gardens through countless seasons, and turned thousands of pages in prayer books. Sister Agatha closed her eyes and remembered. She remembered a different pair of hands, young, strong, nimble. She remembered music that had once filled her like the Holy Spirit, lifting her somewhere beyond herself. She placed her bent fingers on the cool keys but did not press down. Not yet. This moment of possibility of potential music was almost too precious to break. What if she had forgotten everything? What if her hands refused to obey what her heart remembered? A cloud moved away from the moon, sending a brighter shaft of light across the piano. Sister Agatha took it as a sign. She pressed one key, middle C, and the clear tone vibrated through the quiet room. Pain shot through her knuckle immediately, but it was a distant concern compared to the sound, that perfect round note hanging in the air. She pressed another key, then another. Each movement brought discomfort, but also something like awakening. Sister Agatha played nothing recognizable at first, just single notes, reacquainting herself with the feeling. Then slowly her left hand joined in, finding simple chords to accompany the right. It was like speaking a language she had thought forgotten. After 10 minutes her hands could take no more. The pain had built from a whisper to a shout. She closed the piano as carefully as she had opened it and made her way back to her room, her heart beating faster than it had in years. The next night she returned, and the next. Each time she played a little longer, worked through a little more pain. She never attempted anything difficult. Her hands wouldn't allow it, but simple melodies came back to her. Hymns and folk songs half remembered from childhood. For 3 weeks, Sister Agatha kept her midnight visits secret. During the day she was the same quiet presence she had always been, though perhaps the younger nuns might have noticed she seemed more tired, or that she winced sometimes when reaching for the salt at dinner. Then one night, as she played a gentle rendition of Amazing Grace, the lights suddenly turned on. Sister Agatha's hands crashed onto the keys in surprise, creating a discordant sound that echoed in the now bright room. Sister Teresa stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with astonishment. "I heard music," she said. "I thought I was dreaming, but then it kept happening night after night. I had to see who it was." She took a step closer. "I never would have guessed it was you." Sister Agatha felt her face grow warm. "I'm sorry if I disturbed your sleep." Sister Teresa shook her head. "You didn't disturb me. Your playing is beautiful." She tilted her head. "But why at night? Why in secret?" Sister Agatha looked down at her hands, resting now on her lap. "These hands aren't what they used to be. I can't play like I once did. And besides, some things—" She paused, searching for words. "Some things are between me and God." Sister Teresa sat down on the bench beside the older nun. "Did you play before you came to St. Cecilia's?" Sister Agatha nodded slowly. "Another lifetime ago. Will you tell me about it?" Sister Agatha looked into the young woman's earnest face and felt something shift inside her, like a door long locked being nudged open. Perhaps someday, but not tonight. She closed the piano and stood up. "We should both get some sleep. Morning prayers come early." As they walked back to their rooms, Sister Teresa whispered, "Your secret is safe with me." "But Sister Agatha, I think God gave you a gift, and I don't think gifts are meant to stay hidden forever." Sister Agatha said nothing, but as she climbed back into her bed, her mind was filled with memories she had packed away decades ago. Memories of music halls and competitions, of applause and possibilities. For the first time in many years, she wondered what might have been. And for the first time in even longer, she wondered what still might be. The morning after Sister Teresa discovered her playing the piano, Sister Agatha found herself distracted during prayers. Her mind kept drifting to their conversation and the younger nun's words, "I don't think gifts are meant to stay hidden forever." The thought troubled her. For decades, she had believed that setting aside her music was part of her sacrifice, her devotion to God. Now seeds of doubt had been planted. After breakfast, Sister Agatha was assigned to help organize the convent's small archive room. Years of records, photographs, and documents had accumulated in boxes and filing cabinets. Mother Superior had decided it was time to properly sort and catalog everything. "Sister Teresa will assist you," Mother Superior said. "Her young eyes will be helpful with the small print." Sister Agatha nodded, though she felt a flutter of nervousness. Would Sister Teresa mention last night? She needn't have worried. When they met in the archive room, the younger nun simply smiled and asked where they should begin. They worked in comfortable silence for most of the morning, opening boxes, sorting papers, and occasionally sharing a memory triggered by an old photograph or letter. The convent's history unfolded before them, records of nuns who had lived and died there, accounts of community events, letters from grateful families they had helped. Shortly before lunch, Sister Teresa opened a large envelope containing photographs from the 1960s. She spread them across the table, smiling at the old-fashioned habits and hairstyles of people in the images. "Look at these," she said, pushing several toward Sister Agatha. The world was so different then. Sister Agatha glanced at the photos, nodding politely. But then her hand froze above one particular image. She pulled it closer, her breath catching. "Sister, are you all right?" Sister Teresa asked, noticing the change in her companion's expression. Sister Agatha didn't answer immediately. The photograph showed a young woman seated at a concert piano on a stage. She wore a simple dark dress, her hands poised above the keys, her face a study in concentration. Though the image was in black and white and decades old, there was no mistaking who it was. Sister Teresa leaned over to look. "Is that?" She looked from the photograph to Sister Agatha's face and back again. "It's you, isn't it?" Sister Agatha nodded slowly. She turned the photograph over. On the back, in faded handwriting, someone had written, "Agatha Winters, National Youth Piano Competition, 1963. You were a concert pianist," Sister Teresa said, her voice filled with awe, "before you became a nun." "I was a student," Sister Agatha corrected gently. "A promising one, perhaps, but not yet a professional." She set the photo down with care, as if it might crumble beneath her fingers. That was a different life. Sister Teresa pulled her chair closer. "Will you tell me about it, please?" Sister Agatha looked into the young woman's eager face and felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to weaken. For so many years she had kept her past locked away, sharing it with no one. But now, holding this tangible piece of her former self, the urge to speak was suddenly overwhelming. "We should break for lunch," she said, standing up. "But perhaps we could talk afterward. In the garden." After the midday meal, Sister Agatha led Sister Teresa to a quiet corner of the convent garden. It was a warm spring day, and the herbs Sister Agatha tended gave off a pleasant fragrance in the sunshine. They sat on a weathered wooden bench beneath an apple tree just beginning to blossom. "I was born in a small town not far from here," Sister Agatha began, her voice soft but steady. "My father was the town doctor, my mother a school teacher. We weren't wealthy, but we had enough. When I was 6, my grandmother came to live with us. She brought her piano." Sister Agatha smiled at the memory. "It was an old upright, nothing special. But to me it was magical. I would watch her play for hours. One day, she put me on the bench beside her and showed me how to play a simple tune. From that moment I was in love." She told Sister Teresa how her talent had quickly become apparent. By age 10, she was playing pieces most adults struggled with. Her parents found her a proper teacher in the city, making sacrifices to pay for lessons and transportation. "My teacher believed I could have a real career," Sister Agatha continued. "He entered me in competitions, arranged for me to play at important events. By the time I was 17, I had offers from 3 music conservatories." Sister Teresa listened, entranced. "So what happened? Why didn't you go?" A shadow crossed Sister Agatha's face. "Life happened. My father died suddenly, a heart attack. My mother couldn't manage alone with my younger brothers and grandmother. I was the oldest. It was my responsibility to help." She described how she had deferred her acceptance to the conservatory, planning to attend the following year. She found work as a music teacher at the local school, contributing her salary to the family, but 1 year became 2, then 3. My mother's health began to fail, Sister Agatha said. My brothers were still in school. My grandmother needed care. The dream of the conservatory grew more distant. She fell silent for a moment, lost in memories. A bee buzzed lazily around the apple blossoms above them. I still played, she continued eventually. Every evening after the dishes were washed and the boys were in bed, I would play for hours. It was my comfort, my escape. Sometimes I would close my eyes and imagine I was on a stage in New York or Paris. And then you felt the calling to religious life? Sister Teresa prompted gently. Sister Agatha nodded. It wasn't sudden. It grew slowly, like a seed taking root. I started attending early morning mass before work. There was such peace in those quiet moments. Over time, I felt drawn to a different kind of life, a different purpose. She explained how by the time she was 21, her brothers were old enough to help with the family, and her grandmother had passed away. Her mother's health had stabilized. I felt free to follow my heart at last. But to everyone's surprise, including my own, my heart was no longer leading me toward music but toward God. She described her family's confusion when she announced her intention to enter the convent. They had sacrificed for her musical career for so many years. They couldn't understand her choice to walk away from it. My piano teacher was the most upset, Sister Agatha said with a sad smile. He called it a waste. Said I was throwing away a gift from God. Sister Teresa frowned. But couldn't you have continued with music as a nun? Sister Agatha shook her head. When I joined the order, I believed that leaving behind my old life, including music, was part of my sacrifice. The convent had a small organ in the chapel, but no piano back then. I took it as a sign that God wanted me to find a new path. And you never played again? Until recently? Never for 57 years. Sister Teresa looked shocked. But you're still so good. I heard you last night. After all that time, Sister Agatha looked down at her gnarled hands. I'm not good anymore. What you heard was just simple tunes. My fingers won't do what they once could. The music I used to play, Bach, Chopin, Liszt, that's beyond me now. But still, to remember anything after so long. Some things, once learned, never leave you entirely. Like riding a bicycle or swimming. Sister Agatha smiled. Or praying. They sat in silence for a while. The only sounds the buzzing of bees and distant voices of other nuns walking in another part of the garden. Do you regret it? Sister Teresa finally asked. Your choice? Sister Agatha took a deep breath, considering the question. I've had a good life here. A peaceful life. I felt God's presence and purpose. That's no small thing. But do you regret giving up music? Sister Agatha's eyes grew distant. Sometimes in the quiet hours I would hear music in my head, pieces I used to play. My fingers would move slightly, remembering. In those moments, yes, there was regret. A wondering about paths not taken. She straightened her shoulders slightly. But we all make choices, Sister Teresa. We all leave some doors closed to walk through others. That's what life is, and now? Sister Teresa gestured back toward the convent. Now that the piano has returned to your life? Sister Agatha smiled. A genuine smile that made her look years younger. Now I feel as though God is giving me a gift. A chance to reconnect with a part of myself I thought was gone forever. I don't know why after all these years, but I'm grateful. Sister Teresa hesitated, then asked, Will you keep playing only at night? In secret? Sister Agatha looked up at the apple blossoms above them, thinking. I'm not sure. Old habits are hard to break. And my playing is just for me, for prayer, really. I'm not sure I'm ready to share it. I understand, Sister Teresa said, though her expression suggested she didn't entirely. But Sister Agatha, you're wrong about one thing. What's that? Your playing isn't just for you. It's touched me, even hearing it by accident. Maybe it could touch others too. Sister Agatha didn't respond, but as they walked back to the archive room to continue their work, her mind was swirling with memories and possibilities she hadn't allowed herself to consider in decades. The following week brought unusual activity to the normally quiet convent. Mother Superior called an emergency meeting after morning prayers. Her normally calm face creased with worry. Sisters, I've received some troubling news from our accountant, she said, standing before the gathered nuns in the community room. The foundation that has supported our charitable work for the past 15 years is closing. Their final donation was sent last month. A murmur of concern rippled through the room. The convent was modest in its needs, but their outreach programs, the food pantry, the after-school tutoring for neighborhood children, the weekly meals for the elderly, these required funding. What will we do? Sister Rose asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. Mother Superior clasped her hands together. We pray, of course, but we must also act. I've been speaking with Father Thomas at St. Michael's Parish. He suggested we organize a charity concert at the church. Local musicians would perform, and all proceeds would go to support our programs until we can find a new donor. The nuns nodded in agreement. It was a good idea. St. Michael's was the largest church in town, with excellent acoustics and a seating capacity of over 300. Sister Grace will coordinate with the musicians since she knows many people in the local arts community. Mother Superior continued. The concert is scheduled for 3 weeks from Saturday. That gives us little time to prepare, but with everyone's help, I believe we can make it a success. As the meeting broke up and the nuns headed to their morning duties, Sister Teresa caught up with Sister Agatha in the hallway. Isn't this perfect? Sister Teresa whispered excitedly. You could perform at the concert. Sister Agatha's eyes widened. Goodness, no. That's not possible. Why not? You were once good enough for competitions, and you still play beautifully. Sister Agatha shook her head firmly. What you heard was private practice, simple tunes played badly with stiff fingers. I couldn't possibly perform in public. Sister Teresa looked like she wanted to argue further, but Sister Agatha quickened her pace, effectively ending the conversation. The younger nun watched her go, a thoughtful expression on her face. For the next 2 weeks, the convent buzzed with preparations for the concert. Lists of performers were compiled, programs were printed, and tickets were sold. Sister Grace reported that several well-known local musicians had agreed to participate. The high school's award-winning choir director, a violin professor from the community college, and a retired opera singer who had once performed at Carnegie Hall. It's coming together nicely, Mother Superior said during dinner one evening, though I did receive unfortunate news today. Mr. Chen, the pianist who was to be our final performer, has come down with pneumonia. His doctor has forbidden him to perform. Sister Grace nodded glumly. It's very bad timing. Most of the other pianists I know are either already committed to the program or away for the summer music festival in the city. Sister Teresa set down her fork. What about Sister Agatha? The table fell silent. All eyes turned toward Sister Agatha, who had frozen with her soup spoon halfway to her mouth. Sister Agatha? Mother Superior repeated, clearly confused. Sister Teresa nodded enthusiastically. Yes, Sister Agatha was once an accomplished pianist. Before she joined the convent, Sister Agatha found her voice. Sister Teresa is greatly exaggerating my abilities, she said firmly. And that was nearly 60 years ago. But you still play, Sister Teresa insisted. I've heard you. Now the surprise on the faces around the table deepened. Sister Rose leaned forward. You play the piano, Sister Agatha? In all these years, I never knew that. Sister Agatha's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I dabble, nothing more. Certainly nothing suitable for a public performance. Mother Superior studied Sister Agatha with interest. I had no idea you had this talent, sister. In your personnel file, it only mentioned that you had taught music briefly before joining us. It was a long time ago, Sister Agatha said quietly. Another life. Would you consider helping us? Mother Superior asked gently. Even a simple piece would be welcome. The important thing is participation from our community. Sister Agatha looked around the table at the hopeful faces of her sisters. These women were her family. Their outreach programs meant so much to so many people, and yet, I'm sorry, she said, standing up from the table. I can't. She left the dining room quickly, retreating to the chapel where she knew she could find solitude. Kneeling in a pew, she closed her eyes and tried to pray, but her thoughts were too jumbled. Why was this happening now? After decades of peace, why was music suddenly pushing its way back into her life? Was it a test from God, or perhaps a gift she hadn't recognized? She didn't know how long she'd been sitting there when she became aware of someone sitting down beside her. Opening her eyes, she was surprised to see Mother Superior. I'm sorry to disturb your prayers, the older nun said, but I wanted to speak with you privately. Sister Agatha nodded, waiting. Sister Teresa showed me the photograph she found in the archives, Mother Superior said. You were very young, 17, Sister Agatha confirmed, And very talented, I imagine. Sister Agatha shrugged. I had some natural ability. And good teachers. Mother Superior smiled gently. Sister, I've led this convent for 12 years. In that time, I've come to know you as someone who never draws attention to herself, who works quietly and faithfully. I respect that greatly. Thank you, Mother. But I've also observed that sometimes the most devout among us can misunderstand what God asks of us. Mother Superior's voice remained kind but grew more serious. We make sacrifices to follow our calling, yes. But God doesn't ask us to bury our talents. Quite the contrary, if we remember the parable. Sister Agatha looked down at her hands twisted with age and arthritis. These aren't the hands of a pianist anymore. Perhaps not as they once were, Mother Superior agreed. But they are the hands God gave you, along with the gift of music. Who are we to decide that gift is no longer of use? They sat in silence for a moment. Through the stained glass windows, the late afternoon sun cast colorful patterns across the chapel floor. The concert is in 9 days, Mother Superior finally said. Will you at least consider it? Pray on it? Sister Agatha nodded slowly. I will pray for guidance. That's all I ask. Mother Superior stood to leave but paused. One more thing, sister. When did you start playing again? About a month ago, after the new piano arrived. Mother Superior's eyes twinkled. Interesting timing, isn't it? Almost as if someone knew it was needed. After Mother Superior left, Sister Agatha remained in the chapel until the dinner bell rang. That night she did not go to the recreation room to play the piano as had become her habit. Instead, she lay awake in her small bed thinking. The next morning, after breakfast, she approached Sister Teresa. Would you help me with something? She asked quietly. Sister Teresa's face lit up. Of course. Anything. I need to practice properly, but my hands... She held them up, showing how the fingers curved awkwardly. They hurt after just a short time. What can I do? There's a remedy my grandmother used to make. An oil with arnica and other herbs. It helped with joint pain. I think I could mix some from plants in our garden. And then... Sister Agatha took a deep breath. And then I need someone to turn pages for me. If I'm going to try to play real music again, Sister Teresa beamed. You're going to perform at the concert? Sister Agatha shook her head quickly. I don't know yet. I need to see if I can even play properly anymore. It's been so long since I attempted anything challenging. That afternoon, they worked together in the garden gathering herbs. Sister Agatha showed Sister Teresa how to mix the oil, explaining how her grandmother had learned the recipe from her own mother. It won't cure the arthritis, Sister Agatha explained as she strained the mixture. But it might ease the pain enough to let me practice longer. For the next 3 days, Sister Agatha and Sister Teresa met in the recreation room during free periods. Sister Agatha would massage the oil into her hands before beginning to play. She started with simple exercises, scales and arpeggios, to reacquaint her fingers with the keyboard. It's like waking up muscles that have been asleep for decades, she explained to Sister Teresa. My mind remembers, but my hands have forgotten. Gradually, she attempted more difficult pieces. Her movements were slower than they once had been, and she had to simplify some passages, but the music began to flow. Sister Teresa watched in amazement as the reserved old nun was transformed at the piano, her face animated with concentration and sometimes joy. On the 4th day, Sister Grace stopped by during their practice. She stood quietly in the doorway, listening as Sister Agatha played a simple but beautiful rendition of Debussy's Clair de Lune. When Sister Agatha finished, Sister Grace applauded softly. That was lovely, she said. Truly lovely. Sister Agatha's cheeks flushed. It's not what it should be. My tempo is too slow, and I had to simplify the left hand in several places. Sister Grace shook her head. Music isn't just about technical perfection. It's about feeling, about connection. You have that in abundance. She hesitated, then added, We would be honored if you would consider closing our program on Saturday. Sister Agatha looked down at her hands, resting now on her lap. I don't know if I'm ready. None of us ever feels completely ready for what God calls us to do, Sister Grace said with a gentle smile. But sometimes we must step forward in faith anyway. After Sister Grace left, Sister Teresa looked at Sister Agatha expectantly. What will you do? Sister Agatha turned back to the piano, placing her fingers on the keys. I'll keep practicing, she said quietly. And tonight I'll make my decision. The day before the concert, Sister Agatha sat alone in the chapel, her prayer beads moving slowly through her fingers. She had spent the past week practicing more intensely than she had thought possible at her age. Her hands ached constantly now despite the herbal remedy. Some mornings she could barely hold her spoon at breakfast. But something had awakened inside her that refused to be silenced again. After much prayer and several long conversations with Mother Superior, she had agreed to perform. A single piece, nothing too ambitious. She had chosen Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. It was a piece she had played often in her youth, one that lived somewhere deep in her muscle memory. Even with her limitations, she thought she could do it justice. "Are you at peace with your decision?" Mother Superior had asked that morning. Sister Agatha had nodded. "I believe I'm doing what God is asking of me, though I confess I'm terribly nervous." Mother Superior had smiled warmly. "That's only natural. Remember, you're not performing for critics or judges. You're sharing a gift with friends and neighbors who only wish to support our work." Now, in the quiet of the chapel, Sister Agatha wasn't so sure. Doubts crept in like shadows. What if her hands failed her? What if the pain became too much? What if the audience laughed at this old woman attempting something so far beyond her current abilities? "Sister?" She looked up to see Sister Teresa standing at the end of her pew. "I'm sorry to interrupt your prayers," the younger nun said. "But I thought you might like to see this." She handed Sister Agatha a neatly printed program for the concert. Sister Agatha's eyes went immediately to the last entry. Closing performance, Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major performed by Sister Agatha Winters. Seeing her name in print made it suddenly, terrifyingly real. "It's really happening, isn't it?" she said softly. Sister Teresa sat beside her. "Are you afraid?" Sister Agatha managed a small smile. "Petrified. You'll be wonderful. I've heard you practice, so you're very kind. But I'm not what I once was." Sister Teresa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Yesterday I spoke with Mrs. Taylor when she came to pick up her grandchildren from our tutoring program." Sister Agatha knew Mrs. Taylor well. The woman raised 3 grandchildren on her own after their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. "She told me how much our after-school program means to her family," Sister Teresa continued. "How she couldn't keep her job without it. How her oldest grandson's grades have improved so much with the help he gets here." She paused. "That's what tomorrow is about. Not how perfectly you play, but why you're playing." Sister Agatha let those words sink in. "Thank you for reminding me," she said finally. "Sometimes I get lost in the music itself and forget the purpose behind it. Will you come practice once more? I'll turn pages for you." Sister Agatha nodded and followed Sister Teresa to the recreation room. For the next hour she played through her piece several times, working on the passages that still gave her trouble. By the end, her hands were trembling with exhaustion, but she felt as ready as she could be. That night, sleep eluded her. She lay awake, the music playing in her head, her fingers moving slightly against the blanket as if finding invisible keys. She thought about the path that had led her here, from a young girl falling in love with music, to a woman choosing a life of faith, to now, in her late 70s, bringing those two worlds together at last. "Is this what you wanted all along, Lord?" she whispered into the darkness. "Did I misunderstand for all these years?" No answer came, except the quiet certainty in her heart that she was exactly where she needed to be. The next morning dawned clear and warm. After breakfast, Sister Agatha went to the convent's small infirmary where Sister Martha, who had nursing training, wrapped her aching hands in warm compresses. "This should help with the stiffness," Sister Martha said, "and I've prepared a stronger version of your grandmother's remedy for after the concert. You'll need it." Sister Agatha thanked her, touched by the care and support her sisters were showing. Throughout the day, many of them stopped to offer encouragement or tell her they would be praying for her. Even the most elderly nun, Sister Dorothy, who rarely left her room these days, made her way to Sister Agatha's door. "I'll be thinking of you, dear," she said, patting Sister Agatha's arm. "I'm too frail to attend, but my spirit will be with you." By late afternoon, it was time to leave for St. Michael's Church. Several of the nuns had gone ahead to help with setup and ticket sales. The rest would travel together in the convent's small bus. Sister Agatha sat quietly during the short drive, watching the familiar town pass by through the window. St. Michael's came into view, a handsome stone building with stained glass windows that had stood in the town center for over a century. Already people were filing in through its large wooden doors. "Look at the crowd," Sister Rose said excitedly. "We might sell out completely." Inside, the church was buzzing with activity. The pews were filling quickly, and musicians were preparing in the side rooms and choir loft. Father Thomas greeted them warmly, showing Sister Agatha to a small room where she could wait until her performance. "We've saved you a seat in the front row for the rest of the concert," he explained. "When it's your turn, Sister Grace will announce you." Sister Agatha nodded, suddenly unable to speak. The reality of what she was about to do hit her with full force. Her hands trembled, and not just from arthritis. Sister Teresa must have noticed her distress. "I'll stay with you," she offered, "until it's time." The concert began at 7 o'clock. From her waiting room, Sister Agatha could hear the muffled sounds of music and applause. Sister Teresa provided updates as performers came and went. The children's choir just finished. They were adorable. "Now Mr. Wilson is playing the violin. Mrs. Lee is singing Ave Maria. Dr. Richards and his quartet are on now." All too quickly, it seemed, Sister Teresa was saying. "It's almost time. The quartet is on their last piece." Sister Agatha stood up, smoothing the front of her habit. She flexed her fingers, wincing slightly at the stiffness. "How do I look?" "Like yourself," Sister Teresa said with a smile. "Which is exactly right." They walked together to the side of the altar where Sister Grace was concluding her introduction of the final performer. Many of you know Sister Agatha from our food pantry or tutoring program, but tonight you'll see another side of this remarkable woman. Please welcome Sister Agatha Winters. A polite applause filled the church as Sister Agatha made her way to the piano. It was a beautiful grand piano, much like the one at the convent. She wondered briefly who had donated their piano, and if they somehow knew it would lead to this moment. The audience quieted as she seated herself on the bench. Looking out, she saw the front pews filled with her fellow sisters, their faces encouraging. Behind them, rows of community members, some familiar, some strangers. Near the back, she spotted Mrs. Taylor with her 3 grandchildren. Sister Agatha turned to the piano. She placed her hands on the cool keys, took a deep breath, and began to play. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne filled the church. They were tentative at first, like a person stepping carefully onto thin ice. But as the familiar melody unfolded beneath her fingers, something remarkable happened. The years seemed to fall away. Her hands, though still gnarled and stiff, found their way through the piece as if guided by memory deeper than conscious thought. She forgot about the audience, forgot about her arthritis, forgot everything except the music itself, the gentle rise and fall of the melody, the delicate harmonies, the way Chopin could express in notes what words could never capture. There were mistakes, notes missed, tempos altered to accommodate her limitations, but they hardly seemed to matter. The essence of the piece remained intact, perhaps even enhanced by the obvious emotion with which she played. This wasn't the performance of a polished concert pianist, but of a woman whose life had contained both music and silence, both joy and sacrifice. As she played the final chords, letting them fade softly into silence, Sister Agatha kept her eyes closed, not wanting the moment to end. But then she heard it, a sound that startled her eyes open. The entire church was on its feet. The applause was thunderous, echoing off the stone walls and high ceiling. Sister Agatha blinked in surprise. In the front row, Mother Superior was wiping tears from her eyes. Sister Teresa was beaming, clapping so hard her hands must have hurt. But what touched Sister Agatha most were the expressions on the faces around her. People weren't just being polite. They were genuinely moved. She saw tears, smiles, looks of wonder. Mrs. Taylor's oldest grandson was staring at her with his mouth slightly open, as if seeing something he couldn't quite believe. Father Thomas approached, offering his hand to help her stand. Her legs felt unsteady, partly from sitting so long, partly from emotion. "Thank you, sister," he said, his voice thick. That was truly a gift. As she made her way back to her seat, people reached out to touch her arm, to murmur thanks, to smile at her with new recognition. Sister Agatha had lived among these people for decades, but she suddenly felt truly seen for perhaps the first time. Sister Teresa squeezed her hand as she sat down. "I told you," she whispered. "Told me what?" "That your playing wasn't just for you, that it could touch others too." Sister Agatha nodded, too full of emotion to speak. Her hands throbbed with pain after the exertion. but her heart felt lighter than it had in years. Whatever happened next, something had been healed in her tonight. That had nothing to do with arthritis or aging. A circle had been completed. A gift returned. The morning after the concert, Sister Agatha woke to sunlight streaming through her small window. For a moment, she wondered if it had all been a dream. Her playing at St. Michael's, the standing ovation, the faces full of wonder. But the deep ache in her hands confirmed that it had been very real. She dressed slowly, her fingers stiff and uncooperative as she buttoned her habit. By the time she arrived at morning prayers, most of the other nuns were already seated. As she entered the chapel, something unexpected happened. Sister Dorothy, the eldest nun at 92, began to clap. One by one, the others joined in until the small chapel echoed with applause. Sister Agatha felt her cheeks grow warm. "Please," she said, embarrassed by the attention. "It was just one little piece of music." "It was much more than that," Mother Superior said, smiling. "But come, let us pray now. We have much to be thankful for today." After prayers, Father Thomas arrived at the convent with news that sent a wave of excitement through the community. The concert was an overwhelming success, he announced as they gathered in the community room. "We raised over 3 times what we had hoped for. The outreach programs are secure for at least a year." The nuns exchanged happy glances. Their prayers had been answered. "And there's more," Father Thomas continued. "Several people were so moved by the performances, especially Sister Agatha's, that they've made additional pledges. Mrs. Chen, whose husband was meant to be the pianist, has offered to fund a small music program at our after-school center. She would like Sister Agatha to be involved if she's willing." All eyes turned to Sister Agatha, who sat quietly absorbing this news. "A music program?" she repeated. "For the children?" Father Thomas nodded. "Nothing too formal. Just a chance for them to experience music, especially those who can't afford lessons or instruments." Sister Agatha looked down at her hands. They still hurt from yesterday's performance, but the pain seemed less important now. "I would need help," she said.
"My hands aren't what they once were." "Sister Teresa has already volunteered," Mother Superior said with a twinkle in her eye. Sister Agatha looked across the room at the young nun,
Who nodded enthusiastically. "And Mrs. Chen mentioned that her husband would be happy to assist once he recovers," Father Thomas added. A sense of possibility opened up before Sister Agatha, something she hadn't felt in decades. The chance to share music, to pass on what she had been given, not as a concert pianist, but as something perhaps more valuable, a guide, a teacher, a keeper of something beautiful. "I would be honored," she said simply. Father Thomas smiled. "There's one more thing. Someone recorded your performance on their phone. With your permission, they'd like to share it online. They thought it might inspire others." Sister Agatha blinked in surprise. "Online, you mean on the internet? For strangers to see?" Father Thomas nodded. "Only if you're comfortable with it, of course." Sister Agatha looked to Mother Superior, uncertain. "I don't know much about such things," she admitted. "Nor do I," Mother Superior replied with a gentle laugh. "But I believe there's wisdom in sharing gifts rather than hiding them. Still, the choice must be yours, sister." Sister Agatha thought about it. The idea of unknown people watching her play was unsettling. And yet, if her music could touch hearts beyond their small community, perhaps that was what God intended all along. "Very well," she agreed, "though I can't imagine why anyone would want to watch an old nun playing the piano." Father Thomas smiled. "You might be surprised." In the days that followed, life at the convent settled back into its familiar rhythms. Sister Agatha tended her herbs, mended clothes, and attended prayers as she always had. But each afternoon now she spent an hour at the piano, playing through pieces she had once known by heart. Some days her hands cooperated better than others. She accepted both the good days and the bad with the patience of someone who understood that time was both an enemy and a friend. 2 weeks after the concert, Sister Teresa burst into the garden where Sister Agatha was weeding. "Sister Agatha, you need to come see this." Her voice trembled with excitement. Sister Agatha looked up, squinting in the sunlight. "What is it?" "Your video!" "The one from the concert." "It's—" Sister Teresa paused as if searching for words. "You need to see for yourself." Curious, Sister Agatha followed Sister Teresa to Mother Superior's office, where the only computer in the convent was kept. Several nuns were already gathered around it watching something on the screen. "Ah, Sister Agatha," Mother Superior said, making room for her. We were just about to call for you. Sister Agatha peered at the screen. There she was, seated at the piano in St. Michael's. The quality wasn't perfect, the lighting was dim, and the angle was from the side, but the sound was surprisingly clear. She watched her past self begin to play, the nocturne unfurling note by note. "I don't understand," Sister Agatha said, turning to Sister Teresa. "What am I supposed to be seeing?" Sister Teresa pointed to some numbers below the video. "Look at how many people have watched it. And the comments, there are hundreds of them." Sister Agatha leaned closer, struggling to make sense of what she was seeing. 200,000 views? Surely that's a mistake. "No mistake," Sister Grace said. "Your video has gone viral, as they say." "Viral?" Sister Agatha repeated, alarmed. "Like an illness?" The younger nuns laughed. "It means lots of people are sharing it with others," Sister Teresa explained. "It's spreading across the internet. People are touched by your playing." Sister Agatha shook her head, bewildered. "But why?" "I'm just an old woman playing an old song. Read the comments," Sister Grace urged. Sister Teresa scrolled down, showing message after message from strangers around the world. This brought tears to my eyes. Such emotion in her playing. "I stopped taking piano lessons when I was a teenager. This makes me want to start again. Those hands have lived a full life. You can hear it in every note. My grandmother had arthritis too. She would have loved this." Sharing it in her memory, Sister Agatha read in silence, overwhelmed by the responses. These were not music critics or judges, just ordinary people who had somehow connected with her playing across time and space. It was hard to comprehend. "There's more," Mother Superior said gently. "Several music schools and nursing homes have contacted us. They want to know if you would consider giving small recitals or talks, and 3 piano teachers have asked if they could bring their students to meet you." Sister Agatha sat down heavily in the nearest chair. "This is too much. I'm not a performer. I'm just a nun who used to play the piano." Mother Superior knelt beside her. "No one is asking you to become a concert pianist at 78, Sister. But your story, your gift that was hidden and then shared, it's touching people. Perhaps that's part of your calling now." "I need to pray about this," Sister Agatha said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Mother Superior agreed. "Take all the time you need." That evening, after prayers, Sister Agatha went to the recreation room. The grand piano waited in the corner, its polished surface gleaming in the soft lamplight. She sat on the bench and placed her hands on the keys but didn't press them. "I don't understand your plan," she said quietly, speaking to God as she often did when alone. "After all these years of silence, why this noise and attention now? What am I supposed to do with it?" No immediate answer came, but as she sat there, memories surfaced. Her grandmother teaching her to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Her teacher praising her first successful performance of a Bach prelude. The faces of her family as they gathered around the piano at Christmas. And now, new memories. The children in the after-school program asking her to play again. Mrs. Taylor's grandson wondering if he could learn. The comments from strangers saying her music had touched their hearts. Music had been her first language of prayer, long before she knew what to call it. Perhaps sharing it now was simply another form of the service she had committed to all those years ago. 6 months later, Sister Agatha sat at the piano in the convent's newly renovated music room. Around her were 8 children from the after-school program, each with a small keyboard. Sister Teresa stood nearby, helping a little boy position his fingers correctly. "Remember," Sister Agatha said, smiling at their eager faces, "music isn't about being perfect. It's about speaking from your heart through your fingers." She demonstrated a simple melody, her old hands moving with the careful precision that had become her hallmark. The children followed, some more successfully than others, filling the room with an enthusiastic if somewhat chaotic rendition. "Very good," she encouraged them. "Now who remembers what comes next?" As the lesson continued, Sister Teresa slipped out to speak with a visitor waiting in the hallway. Mrs. Baker was a reporter from the city newspaper, working on a feature about senior citizens finding new purpose. "How is the music program going?" Mrs. Baker asked. Sister Teresa beamed. "Better than we could have imagined. Sister Agatha teaches 3 days a week now. We've had to start a waiting list for children who want to join. And the recitals I've heard about? Small ones, mostly at nursing homes or for the parish. She gets tired easily, but she never complains." Sister Teresa lowered her voice. Between us, I think she enjoys it more than she lets on. From inside the music room came the sound of laughter, followed by a ripple of piano notes. She's inspired many people, Mrs. Baker observed, not just with her playing, but with her willingness to begin again at her age. Sister Teresa nodded. Sister Agatha says she's not doing anything special, just using the gift God gave her. But I think that's what makes her story resonate with people. We all have something to share if only we have the courage to share it. As they talked, the music from the room shifted. The children's practice had ended, but now a single piano played. Sister Agatha, performing the piece that had started it all. The nocturne's gentle notes floated down the hallway. She still practices every day, Sister Teresa said softly. She says her fingers remember a little more each time, like they're gradually waking up after a long sleep. Mrs. Baker smiled. Some things never truly leave us, do they? They just wait patiently until we're ready to find them again. Inside the music room, Sister Agatha played on, her eyes closed, her face peaceful. The pain in her hands was still there, a constant companion now, but it was overshadowed by something far more powerful. The joy of reclaiming a piece of herself she thought had been lost forever, and the unexpected blessing of being able to pass it on to others. Through her, the music would continue. And that, she had come to believe, was a prayer of its own.